Welcome back, my friends and bunkaholics, to another little rant about Once Human. Since the Way of Winter and 1.3 patch are coming out in just a couple days, I thought that this would be actually a good moment to recap, all the issues that I felt the game has, and hopefully issues that will be resolved with the new patch. So, I've decided to make it a little bit different this time and make it a little bit more structured. So, let's get into it. The issues of Once Human can actually be accurately summed up into three different categories. The first category you've heard me rant about before if you watched my previous videos, and it's the phases. Each season is essentially split into different phases. Each phase is 1 week. I've played the PvE scenario Manibus, and suffice to say, they just took all the content and shoved it into the first two phases, the first 2 weeks. And after that, it was just filler. There was no story progression whatsoever. In fact, once you finish phase 2, you have a boss fight, which you can't actually fight until you reach phase 4. And once you beat that boss, the quest ends. It's over, essentially. You've finished that quest line, which kind of sucks. The solution for that is actually fairly simple. It is to basically spread out the content evenly among all the season. Or not so evenly, but at least have the other phases actually have something in them, except just difficulty. Because personally, as I've mentioned before, I don't view a difficulty increase as content. That feels like filler to me. So maybe they will learn something from this. Maybe they have learned something and we'll see something different in the new season that is coming out, The Way of Winter. Hopefully, I am surely hoping for it. But until it's out, we will not know for sure. So that's the solution I feel, that they can fix the phases. Because when they make timed content, if you're forcing people to wait, there's better be something to wait for. That seems like simple logic for me. The second category is one that I've also talked about, and that is the gameplay loop. I've mentioned this before with the events and the fact that you generally don't have a lot of things to do in the game besides the events whenever they happen. But the gameplay loop is kind of stale, because all you do is basically grind for resources, which becomes a chore once you build your base and automate half the process. You don't even need to play the game to get those resources, you just gotta wait. And that basically eliminates half of the gameplay loop. What else are you gonna do in the game besides that? There's world events, in fact there's 5 world events in total, but they are infrequent. They don't happen frequently, which you can just, play them. The rewards they offer are limited. One of the events is actually just weekly. It's a weekly event that gives you rewards once a week, so there's no point in doing it more than once a week. So besides that, what are you doing in the game besides just moving around and grinding for resources, half of which you can automate in your base? There's just not a lot to do in the game. Because, you can basically, as a lot of people pointed out in the comments, it's about getting mods, finishing your build. But what do you do once you get a good build? There's nothing to do. What if you reach and make your build into a satisfying point where you think, that's good enough? What are you gonna do then? That's the real question. There's not much to do. There's really not much to do. Of course, saying this will get all those people in the comments again like, wow, it's a free game, why are you complaining? Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But here's the thing. Just because something is free does not mean you need to completely let go of your standards. Our time is precious, alright? A lot of us, me included, have jobs. They can't just sit in the game and play for 12 hours straight and just, live in the game and do whatever. We don't. Our time is precious. So, if I play a game that requires a lot of time, that game better be worthwhile. That's just my opinion on it. I know that a lot of people would disagree with that. I know that some people will agree with that. But all I'm saying is that if I'm gonna spend hours on this game, I want to feel like I'm actually doing something at least satisfying, because it's been a while since I felt satisfied playing the gameplay loop of Once Human. It was only fun the first time, but after we did the reset and we restarted the season, I've already accomplished half of it. I already have all the blueprints that I wanted. I've already upgraded them as much as I can. I can't upgrade them anymore until I get to the new season. I've done all I can. What else is there to do for me? What else is there to do for you? I know some people they start upgrading all the other weapons, but that's something you do because you don't have anything else to do. Once you get your build, you either just go and build a new build with a new weapon, or like other people, they just quit the game and wait for the next season. I've mentioned that our server had a Discord server, that we had a marketplace talking about stuff, it felt more like a community. But that community kind of broke apart because most people stopped playing the game because, again, there's not much to do. Once anytime a new phase started and a new Prime War difficulty came up, we finished that in an hour. An hour to experience everything that week offers. 1 hour. Everyone has already done it. Now you just wait for next week and you finish everything that phase adds in 1 hour. So, I mean, it kind of ties into the first point I was making, that the phases are not actually like properly structured in my opinion. But yeah, new phase starts, it only has content for 1 hour. Maybe even less. In fact, we finished the Nightmare Mode difficulty, all the three Prime Wars, in 45 minutes. Because by that point, everyone knew what they were doing. We're not new players that need to figure it out. Everyone knew what they needed to do. Everyone had the resources for it because everyone was already farming since Phase 2 for the Nightmare Mode. So we had such an overabundance of resources that the Nightmare Mode wasn't a nightmare at all. We finished all three of them within 45 minutes. So besides that, yeah, the game offers you challenges. You do challenges to unlock it between for the season rewards and all that. But at this point, if you know what you're doing, those are not really challenges. They're a chore. There's a map online which you can find like half the stuff that you need to grind for. It's not really that much of a challenge. You can do that in 1 day. So every time a season starts, you can finish everything it offers in 1 day, but then you have to wait 6 more days for what? There's not much to do in those 6 days. That is the problem. Now, how to spruce it up? I've mentioned this before. The solution might be more events, more things to do, more quality of life. Like they've had a good step with the farming update. They did a little farming out where you can tame creatures. They could have been building up on top of it, giving us more stuff to do, more utility for the bases, more things like that. Give us more stuff to do besides grinding, stuff that can occupy our time. Because this is a timed-based game. It's all content that is time-based. Every week, more content, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. That's how it's supposed to go. But unfortunately, it doesn't. But the content lasts an hour. And I'm not a hardcore grindy player that just goes into the game and just sits there for the entire day. No, literally, it takes me 1 hour of casual play to complete all the content. And that's a problem. Now, can they add more content? I mean, they surely can add more world events to keep you occupied. I'm hoping to see something like this in the new season. Hopefully it'll be there. Maybe not. I don't know. World mini bosses, stuff like that, things that spawn, things that you can do beyond just grinding for resources that becomes really repetitive after a while. I mean, everything will become repetitive after a while. It's fairly obvious. But they can, add more variety, more spice of life. Like, I feel like the farming update was a step in the right direction, but it's so bare bones, and they haven't touched it since. It's bare bones, and most people just don't fucking bother with it, because it's pointless. Another issue is the Eternal Land. So, as some people pointed out to me, is that, you don't actually lose all the resources you grind, they go to Eternal Land. And what do you do with them in the Eternal Land? Nothing. They're just there. You can sell them. So people who tell me you don't actually lose all the resources, all the stuff you grinded for, are wrong, because you can't actually use them within your server. They're available only in Eternal Land, because you're not gonna waste your points taking resources to the server. No one's gonna do that. those resources are very, very limited. So you're not gonna waste them on resources you can just farm again. So by all accounts, all those resources are just gone. And the other issue with Eternal Land is that it serves no purpose. It's just a glorified storage box between seasons. But within Eternal Land itself, there's not much point. Yeah, you can make your dream base. You can make your dream base, make it look good, but yeah, only people you invite can see that. And there's not really any utility within that base. Everything you farm there, like if you set up a cool farm, you can't actually do anything with the resources you get from it. There's nothing. Like, my hope is that they might add more utility to it. I don't know, maybe a way to get more points, more transfer points, essentially, that you can earn throughout playing the game, which then will allow you to transfer more resources. Hey, maybe you have some super rare resources that you farmed out in your previous season. What if you get more season points and you can slowly take him out of your Eternal Land storage? What if that's gonna happen? I don't know. Right now, though, yeah, Eternal Land's kind of pointless. Like, I've built a base and then that's it. Like, I've never bothered beautifying the base. There's no point. It's a glorified storage box in its current form. Hopefully they'll focus on it eventually. Maybe not. I don't know. We will have to see. The third point is one that I feel a lot of people are actually agreeing with me on, which is the direction and focus of the developers. You can actually just go on Twitter and go to any post by the developers and look at the comments. Like 90% of the comments are people asking for or begging the developers to remove the loot boxes. Ever since they added the loot boxes, there was a shift in the attitude towards the developers because, let me tell you, nobody was happy about the loot boxes. Nobody. And the developers still left them in. In fact, I think they're on the third loot box. They're probably gonna add a fourth one in a couple of days with the new patch. But yeah, they don't listen. I understand, it's a free game. They need to make money. Obviously, that's the whole point of free-to-play games, that the developers need to have a monetization option to keep the servers running. But they picked the shittiest method. Out of all the monetization systems that are existing out there, they picked the worst one. To give you some context, each loot box has 5 legendary items. Most of them are skin. It's all skins, essentially. They're legendary items, and you have a 0.9% chance of getting them. But after a certain amount of rolls, you get one guaranteed. Previously, you had to spend around $300 fucking dollars to get all the legendary skins, because the chances of you actually rolling for it with the 0.9% chance were slim to fucking none. It was nearly impossible. Some people got lucky. Most people did not. And it sucks even more if you just want one item out of the box, because you can't even guarantee that you're gonna get it out of the first guaranteed drop. You might need to go on and on. On average, right now, I think they lowered the percentages according to reports I've read. You need 90 rolls to get all the items. That's a lot of money. Now, what this creates is the impression that the developers are just trying to cash in on the game right now. They're just trying to maximize the profits as much as possible. Like, they could have done with so many different methods of actually monetizing it. Like, let's say, for example, even Helldivers had a good monetization system. You had 2 options. You can save your time and just unlock the new war bond with the premium currency that you can buy, or you play the game, which is fair. Either play the game to unlock all this shit, or buy it. Quite simple, and I've not seen a single person complain about it, because that's fair. This is a time-saving method. Pay to save time, not pay to unlock. It's quite different. It's a free-to-play game, so I understand that they need to make money, but it becomes very, very obvious that they're trying to make us buy stuff. Look at any trailer, any announcement. It's always the loot box and battle pass item front and center. In fact, you can look at a few patch notes, and you'll notice that the first thing in the patch notes are announcement about shop items and loot boxes and loot crates, whatever, and only then come the actual things that the patch note fixed. Speaking of patch notes, the maintenance on the game is kind of lacking. One thing, if you've played the PvE, one thing you're certainly aware of is that the Prime Wars are fucking atrocious. They are bad. It's a lag fest. It's a lag apocalypse. It gets so laggy sometimes that you can't even move. You just get rubber banded to your initial position. The bosses teleport, people teleport, your reload doesn't work. A bunch of issues that... How long has the game been out yet? Like what, 2 months? Yeah, 2 months into the game and they still haven't fucking touched it. They haven't done anything. I've heard that the recent season that they released for PvP also suffer from the same issues, that the game just couldn't handle what they're trying to do. Speaking of PvP, last I heard from PvP players, they got really screwed over because their latest season was kind of shit, from what I've heard. It's another thing that the developers really need to focus on what exactly they're catering for. Do they want this game to be PvP-centric or PvE-centric? Because right now, it looks like they can't handle both. One side gets neglected. At first, PvE players were kind of upset that the PvP players are getting the season first. And we're forced to wait like half a month or a month. I don't remember when the PvP scenario was actually released. But yeah, PvE players were kind of upset by that we were being neglected. And then it turns out that PvP players got kind of a half-assed scenario. And now the PvP players are upset that the PvE players are getting a whole new map to explore with new mechanics and all that stuff. Yeah, like, they need to fucking equalize it. Like, or focus on one over the other. Like, they need to make up their mind what exactly they're trying to do here. Because right now it feels like this season you're gonna get screwed over, next season you're getting screwed over. All that stuff, it's kind of nonsensical. The solution for this is like genuinely simple, like make up your fucking mind. And speaking of that, the fact that they're working on a mobile version of the game instead of actually fixing the existing issues and, you know, finishing the game also says a lot when I'm saying that they're trying to maximize their profit at the moment. Because, yeah, they're making a mobile version. Look, I'm sorry, like, I know that some people are playing, like, shooters on mobile. I personally see you as weirdos. Like, I'm sorry. It's kind of weird. I think it's so much more fun to play a shooter with a mouse and keyboard or a fucking controller. Playing it on a phone, it's kind of weird for me. And maybe I'm just too old to understand the draw in that. But point is, I genuinely don't think they're gonna get a fraction of the players they're getting on the other platforms. So I don't understand, like, why they are actually, like, putting in so much manpower into making a mobile version. I'm assuming that maybe it's their investors pushing for it. Like, it might be the case. But the game has, like, glaring performance issues. And don't tell me, like, yeah, it's a live service game, I don't believe this is a 1.0 version on release. Like, the fact that they didn't have fucking controller support, even the basic graphical performance issues, like they had, it's an early access title. Let's be honest, it's an early access title, and calling it a 1.0 is a bit of a stretch considering the issues the game had at launch. And considering the issues the game still has, that essentially they're focusing on a mobile version instead of finishing the game. I have a simple stance about it. If you want people to spend money on your game, make the game good. But right now, they're making, like, shop items for a game that is incomplete yet and suffers from a lot of performance issues, especially lag. That's the main issue. Whenever a big event happens and there's a lot of players, the lag is atrocious. Like, I understand they're working on it according to their announcements, but I have not seen any results yet. And it's been 2 months. People have complained about the Prime Wars for 2 months, and we have not seen a single shred of improvement yet. But they're working on a mobile version. And allegedly they're a small team. they shouldn't have the manpower to devote a segment of their workforce on a mobile version that I genuinely doubt a lot of people will even bother playing. The solution for that is, well, I don't have a solution. The solution is get your head out of your asses and focus on making the game better. Like, that's the only thing they can do. Focus on making the game better. Fix the glaring issues. Keep your players happy. Either way, yeah, I hope I kept this rant short and concise, and I've made my point fairly quickly. Let's hope that I've succeeded in that. And, well, I guess we'll see in 2 days once the Way of Winter comes out. We will see whether there's actual improvement. So yeah, expect another video in the future where I'll, I guess, rate and review the new season. We'll have to see how it goes, and whether my hopes are met or if my fears are becoming true. I don't know. I'm trying to be dramatic here and I'm failing. Either way, thank you for listening, and yeah, I'll see you in the next rant. So bye-bye for now, and thank you again.